The weekend had arrived. John and Dawn secured Bernie to their trailer and began their trek east, back home a few hours away. Our off-road wheeling was finished for the week. Michele and I had hoped to hit a few other trails in the region during our visit, the Alpine Loop with Engineer Pass as well as Imogene Pass being top among them, but they would have to wait for a future visit. The Alpine Loop is a 63-mile-long circular route that would have taken literally an entire day to wheel, and Imogene had been partially closed prior to our departure to Colorado for repairs to bridges and sections of the road on the Telluride side of the pass. While it had been fully reopened the day prior to our ride on Black Bear, we heard the news regarding Imogene Pass too late for us to incorporate into our current schedule. Both trails, in fact all our original plans for both off-road wheeling and sightseeing, would have been easier to accomplish had we been able to stay in the house we had originally reserved in Ridgway, just north of Ouray, instead of a house 2 hours further south in Durango. The full Alpine Loop, Engineer Pass with Odom Point, and Imogene Pass would have to be something we would look forward to during our future return to the San Juan Mountains instead. The remains of our time in Colorado would be spent sightseeing in the local area, getting to know our temporary hometown, Durango, just a little better, and experience some of its rich history.
I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day. I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away.
Our morning had begun back at CJ's Diner, the same place we had eaten on Monday morning when the hunt for repair parts had begun, for a hearty breakfast before heading into downtown Durango, specifically along Main Avenue. Durango was organized from September 1880 to April 1881 by the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad, later known as the Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad, as part of their efforts to reach Silverton, Colorado and service the San Juan mining district. The DNRG chose a site in the Animas Valley close to the Animas River, near what's now the downtown Durango Historic Business District for its railroad facilities. The city was named after Durango, Mexico by ex-Colorado Governor Alexander C. Hunt. DNRG President William Jackson Palmer and other DNRG associates started a subsidiary company known as the Durango Trust to sell land and plan a Main Street, 2nd and 3rd Avenue to organize the town. Sales from the Durango Trust skyrocketed by the completion of the DNRG's Silverton branch. By 1885, Durango's business district had 7 hotels and restaurants, 11 saloons, dance halls, and stores, 2 bakeries and blacksmith shops, and a variety of other businesses. The DNRGW and the Rio Grande Southern Railroad were vital resources to many places, including Durango, before the major introduction of the automobile, helping transport goods such as produce and mineral traffic in and out of the southwest Colorado area, and along with other businesses such as the Durango Smelter, immensely supported the town's economy. However, the Great Depression and the aftermath of World War II hurt the area's railroad industry. Once the DNRGW lost its freight traffic in 1968, the tracks from Durango east to Chama, New Mexico, and south to Farmington, New Mexico were removed. The Silverton branch remained in operation until 1981, when it was sold and became the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad. Durango's current major industry is now tourism. Besides attractions such as the Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad, Mesa Verde National Park, the Animas River Valley, which features gold medal fly fishing waters and popular whitewater rafting, kayaking, and canoeing, and the nearby Purgatory Ski Resort with both summer and winter activities, the city hosts popular annual events such as the Snowdown Festival in February, featuring such events as the Snowdown Search for the Silver Bullet, Best Freestyle Hair Design, a Bloody Mary contest, Chili Cook-Off, Josie Pete's Golf Tournament, and the Snowdown Light Parade among its events. The Music in the Mountains Classical Summer Music Festival, Durango Ragtime and Early Jazz Festival, and the Iron Horse Bicycle Classics, a 61-mile bicycle road race during which cyclists from around the world come together and race the Durango narrow gauge train on its journey from Durango to Silverton. Durango is also home to Fort Lewis College, a public liberal arts college. Built atop a 6,872-foot mesa overlooking the Animas River Valley in downtown Durango, the college has its origins as a military fort turned Indian boarding school turned state public school, originally located 13 miles west of its present location in Hesperus, Colorado. Fort Lewis College still follows a 1911 mandate to give qualified Native Americans a tuition-free education. Besides being the location of many of Durango's restaurants and businesses, the downtown Durango Historic Business District along Main Avenue boasts several of the city's oldest structures. The prestigious General Palmer Hotel was built in the Victorian era in 1898. The hotel was built by and named after General William Jackson Palmer, a Civil War general who earned the Medal of Honor for his service on Red Hill, Alabama on January 14, 1865. He was the same man that built the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad, and it is probably no coincidence that the hotel was built directly next to the Durango train station. The General Palmer is the only historical four-diamond hotel in southwest Colorado. Each room is hand-decorated in Victorian-era furnishings, and no two rooms are alike. Guests will find unique replicas and antiques throughout the luxurious hotel.
I'm dizzy, strut Miss Lizzie Brown.
An even older Durango structure is the Strader Hotel. Located one block north of the General Palmer, the Strader Hotel was built by pharmacist Henry Strader in 1887.
They were stepping sweet, they were stepping neat, stepping super fine.
This red brick and sandstone Durango landmark is filled with handcrafted woodwork, hand-printed period-appropriate wallpaper, and the largest collection of Victorian walnut antique furniture in the world.
Everybody cried, "Oh, strut, Miss Lizzie, get busy."
At the northeast corner of the Strader is located the famous Diamond Bell Saloon, Durango's only Old West saloon. It was here that Michele and I decided to take a break from our sightseeing and have a cool drink on what was becoming an increasingly hot day. The space was originally the hotel's saloon before later housing the Strader Thorpe drugstore and other businesses that followed. The Diamond Bell was restored to its saloon greatness in 1957 when Earl Barker Jr., son of the Strader's then owner, decided to ask forgiveness instead of permission of his father Earl Sr. and restored the room back to a turn-of-the-century saloon. When Earl Sr. returned from his winter in Arizona and saw all of his friends having a great time in the Bell, he told everyone it was his idea all along. The saloon's wooden bar was originally built for a bar in the rough-and-tumble mining town of Silverton. The bar was later moved to Durango, where Earl Barker found it in a warehouse and incorporated it into the Diamond Bell Saloon during its renovation in 1957. This bar has a bullet hole in the eastern drawer put there by a Colt 44 revolver during the turn of the 20th century, when an enraged patron sought to get the attention of the barkeep. Attention and return fire were given. However, no fatalities were reported. Cowboys and cowgirls have even ridden their horses and mules into the Bell, only to be turned back out again, of course. The bartenders and saloon girls are dressed in costume to remind patrons of that bygone era. The Bell girls are arguably the most photographed people in Durango. A painting of Evelyn, one of the Bell's first bar girls, hangs proudly over the saloon's piano. Some of the world's best ragtime pianists have played in the Diamond Bell, along with popular local musicians. Novelist Louis L'Amour would book rooms 222 and 223 above the Diamond Bell Saloon to work on his Western novels, so he could be inspired by the honky-tonk music rising from below. Near the south end of Main Avenue is located the Durango train station, built in 1880 to accommodate the arrival in Durango of General Palmer's Railroad on August 5, 1881. Construction on the line to Silverton began in the fall of the same year. By July of 1882, the tracks to Silverton were completed, and the train began hauling both passengers and freight. From the very beginning, the railroad was promoted as a scenic route for passenger service, although the line was constructed primarily to haul mine ores, both gold and silver, from the San Juan Mountains. It is estimated over $300 million in precious metals have been transported over this route. Behind the classic train station, whose originally gender-separated waiting rooms have now been converted into gift and souvenir shops and a snack bar, lies the D&SNG rail yard and roundhouse. The D&SNG Museum, located inside half of the Durango Roundhouse, opened in 1998 and is a tribute to railroading nationally and in southwest Colorado in particular. The other half of the roundhouse is still used to repair and maintain the steam engines, tenders, and other locomotive equipment used by the D&SNG Railroad. The museum features memorabilia from the D&RGW and other railroads. In addition to two full-size locomotives, a caboose, and an immigrant sleeping car, the museum also features amongst its collection Durango's first motorized fire engine, and a 1913 Curtiss headless pusher Model D aircraft. The Durango train station's original wooden waiting room seats are now located inside the museum near the entrance, where tourists can sit and relax for a moment. The museum also displays what was originally built as flat car number 6630, rebuilt in 1968 into a baggage car now designated number 127 for use in the film Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. The movie star baggage car is now used as the museum's movie theater, where the railroad's informational and educational films are featured. The museum also has displays featuring the natural history of the region. Americana. And military history. There is also an HO train layout in the museum depicting a narrow-gauge railroad similar to the D&RGW. On February 10, 1989, the 108-year-old Durango and Silverton narrow-gauge railroad roundhouse burned to the ground, with 6 operable steam locomotives inside. The historic roundhouse was built in 1881, the same year the city was founded. The locomotive engines were salvageable, and with many hours of work were reconditioned and put back into service. The original 1881 roundhouse was completely destroyed. A new roundhouse was constructed on the same site, opening in early 1990, and its facade made use of bricks salvaged from the original building. On Monday morning, Michele, Darren, and I returned to the Durango train station, originally with the intent of simply watching the trains depart, heading toward Silverton. While we were there, Darren discovered the DNSNG offers guided tours of the rail yard, and the three of us agreed to stick around downtown for a tour. Beginning at the historic station, our guide Dennis escorted us around the areas of the train yard not always open to the public. Dennis pointed out and explained the purpose of the railroad's warehouse, the train dispatchers and yard safety office, the coal bin, where the steam engines not yet converted over to burn oil would fill their tender with fuel, and the roundhouse yard, where the turntable and several new diesel locomotives, unusable by the railroad due to their size, were located. Dennis then took us inside the maintenance side of the roundhouse, where two steam locomotives, numbers 473 and 493, sat on blocks over the work pits, while their tires and axles were refurbished and balanced in the machining room nearby. As we moved back out into the yard, a maintenance crew there used a large front-end loader modified with a coupler in the scoop to push the diesel locomotive they were working on back into the roundhouse. Meanwhile, Dennis escorted our tour group into the car shop, where other maintenance crews stripped down and rebuild all of DNSNG's rolling stock, except for engines, passenger cars, box cars, concession cars, and flatbed cars, using period-appropriate materials to keep the equipment as authentic as possible. Our tour of the yard culminated in the welding shop, where parts like wheel bearings are made or refurbished. Here, one of the steam engine tenders was up on blocks as its wheel bearings were rebuilt and the tires and axles refurbished. Michele and I also visited the Riverwalk Park along the Animas River, one of the cooler spots in town due to the shade along the riverbanks. During the spring and early summer, when runoff into the river is high, the fast-moving river is popular with whitewater rafters. On this hot midsummer day, with water levels lower than usual, some people meandered by on inflated inner tubes, while others cooled their feet in the water as they sat on large rocks in the middle of the river.